Well, hi there. As we are finished making our compost bin, it's time to make the first batch of hot compost. I will try out a method that I saw online a few times, and I will link the sources in the description for you as well to check it out. I find it quite fascinating to get compost ready, supposedly in 18 days. So I will test that method if it works. So I'm sure it's going to be a learning curve. So yeah, the theory is doing a compost layer system where you're using wood chips down below, then a surface of greens mixed in with other nutrients that you can use maybe from your kitchen, like coffee grounds or crushed eggshells or ash, and then layering it up step by step again with wood chips, greens, etc., etc. So you have always browns and greens mixed and layered. And then flipping it over apparently every 3 to 4 days, depending on the temperature of the compost. So the compost should keep a warm temperature throughout the process, and you're gonna turn it over every 3 to 4 days when you start to feel the temperature drop down. I have no thermometer, so I'm gonna use just the hand method. So I'm going to use just my hands to kind of see if the temperature is warm enough or not. Again, it's experimental, there's no harm in it if it goes wrong. After turning it over, you wet it down a bit again and wait a few days until the temperature rises, and the process continues this way. So yeah, very excited. I already got some wood chips ready just now. I think I'm gonna get some greens now. Let's get some greens. So this is how we do it here to get more greens. So it's actually a lot of fun. The only downside is that you look like Hulk afterwards, but nature, right? So now that I've got my browns and greens ready, I also have my crushed eggshells, I have ash, and I have coffee grounds. Let's layer it up. So the goal is to make a 10 centimeters layer and a border of 10 centimeters on top as well. I need more wood chips. I put down the greens here. I'll build the border in a second with the wood chips. And now on top of the greens, I'm kind of sprinkling the ash, the coffee grounds, and the eggshells. The idea behind the layering and the adding of different elements and different materials is that you get a really rich compost at the end. Well, that's a theory at least. So one other thing that I saw is that you can add some dirt from your garden, from your grounds, into the compost as well, just a few handfuls to kind of activate the microorganisms. And I just remembered one last ingredient that you can add to your compost pile is manure. So in our case we have chicken available here on our farm, so I'm gonna add that. And it's mixed with wood chips and dirt anyway, so perfect combination in general. So I think the compost pile is ready now, and we are going to wait a few days. I'm gonna check the temperature every time I pass to see if it heats up nicely, and otherwise adjust maybe with some more watering or checking the moisture in general, because it can be either too dry or too wet if it doesn't start. And in a couple of days or a few days, I think I'm gonna flip it over. If I see no change, just to air it out. That should help with the process as well. All right, see you in a few days. So it's day 5 today in the process of making the compost, and today is the day that I will be turning over the compost for the first time. It was not as warm as I expected it to be or wanted it to be, so I put a tarp on top of it to kind of bottle up the heat, and it's for sure a bit warmer. Turning it over today I think will help to reactivate it, and the moisture is okay. The wood chips are wet but not too wet. I will see for the inside how the status is, but so far I think this is how it should look for the first days. So what I was recommended to do in the videos that I watched before was also to put the middle part in the outside and the outside part in the inside. So you're kind of switching the layers and the position of the compost. Oh yeah. Can you see that? There's actually a lot of heat in there. You can see it. Can you see it? Can you see the smoke basically going up? Nice, it's working. It almost looks like burned already. Nice. Okay, this is how I leave it for today, and probably in 3 to 5 days I'll check back. See you soon! So I might have to troubleshoot a bit. I left the compost unattended for another 5 days. Over the weekend, of course, I wasn't there, so I wasn't able to turn it. So I think it lost some heat. So I'm wondering if I should add some more chicken poop. I think the wetness is perfect, but the heat is kind of gone. So I'm not sure if I should only flip it over, turn it over, and the heat will restart, or if I should add some more chicken manure to kind of reactivate it. Ooh. I'm a bit unsure at this point, especially because I had the feeling that I didn't have enough greens at the start. I think the green layers were too small compared to the wood chips. I kind of had that feeling while turning it. So yeah, I'm a bit in a unsure situation right now, but that's how it is sometimes, and I want to share that process. It's not always super easy to figure out all that new stuff. So yeah, I'll flip it and see how the heat is in between the layers. Let's do that. So it's not entirely cold in the middle, but of course outside. So I might just add more chicken manure at this point. I think it's the safe way to do it. Also, if you look at the compost, it's mainly wood chips, so I don't think it's bad if I add more greens into it, and chicken manure is a green, so to say. So yeah, let's do that. I'll check back with you in, let's say, 2 days. I'm still hopeful that the heat will come back. You could see some nice smoke in between the layers, some nice heat going on. So I'm hopeful that it will transfer to the whole pile again. It's harder than I thought, but we're learning, so it's all good. Okay, see you in 2 days. So it's 2 days later, as promised. Let's check on the compost. So I think it regained some heat a little bit, but not as hot as the first time around. So yeah, some learnings to take from the making of this compost pile so far. I'm just gonna say, learn from my mistakes. So, I see you again in 2 days. I feel like the wood chips are starting to break down, but so far my opinion is definitely that if you use wood chips, especially if they're a bit thicker, it will take more time than 18 days. But I'm still hopeful that this experiment works in general. I don't think it's the experiment's fault, it's more so mine. I used not enough greens at the beginning. The other mistake that I made is not turning it enough the first few times. So I think that kind of impacted the overall success. But I'm sure I will give it another try, completely fully new experiment at some time. So I will take my learnings into the next trial as well. Alright, it's time to troubleshoot this pile of compost. Although it has not totally lost in heat, I think the best idea is to reintegrate some greens into the layers. So I'm going to turn it over, and on each, 10 to 15 centimeters of wood chips, I'm going to add a new layer of freshly collected greens. So I think that will help the whole process and also make this very woody mixture at the moment, I think more diverse and more healthy for achieving a good nutritious compost. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do now. A summary so far is that I fully believe in the process. We are at, I think, 14 days right now, and it's surely not close to be ready at day 18. I think the decision of putting some greens in is a good one. In general, I think it really depends on what type of materials you're using. In my case, using a bit thicker wood chips, or wood chips in general, I think. In that quantity that I used it was maybe not the best way to do it. I think in the end it will work. It might take 30 days in total, but I'm still amazed how this whole thing creates heat and breaks down slowly the wood chips and the whole other materials. So if you want to make some compost, I hope this inspires you to try it out, even if you fail at first. I sure did, but I've learned a lot along the way. And for my next compost making, I'm taking all that knowledge with me and hopefully can achieve some nicer results. But I'm still pleased. It's so fun to do it, and it's fun to experiment. There's no harm in failing. There's no harm in trying new things out, and you gain new knowledge every time. So for me to win either way. I'm sure I'm gonna make one more video on compost once I've gathered more experience. But this was a nice first experiment on it. And yeah, that's it. See you soon. And if you want to find out how I made those beautiful looking compost bins out of pallets, well, check out this video.